you said it, you guys have done it over and over and over again in these playoffs. You've had these tremendous comebacks. Just what makes this team so relentless?
Man, we just we keep believing, and we stay together. And it ain't over till it's over. It ain't over till it hits zero, and we just keep pushing. So, like I said, really proud of this group.
Congrats on the win. We'll see you game 2.
Appreciate it.
Within the closing stages of a game, if the ball finds itself in the hands of Tyrese Haliburton, the opposing defense might just be in trouble. In the first round of the playoffs against the Milwaukee Bucks, Tyrese Haliburton hits a game-winning shot with 1.3 seconds left. In round 2 against the Cleveland Cavaliers, in game 2, Tyrese Haliburton hits a game winner with 1.1 seconds left. In the conference finals against the New York Knicks, Haliburton nails the best shot of his career at the buzzer to send the game to overtime. And in game 1 of the NBA Finals, a game in which the Indiana Pacers had not led at any point, Tyrese Haliburton hits the game winner with 0.3 seconds left on the clock. This has been a generational run in the playoffs for Tyrese Haliburton, and this is someone going into it who was deemed overrated. And there were some valid criticisms to be had about him. His shot could be inconsistent at times, and as excellent a playmaker and a passer as he is, when you are also asked to be a primary scoring option for your team, and you're dealing with some inconsistency, it can feel like a big leap to consider him to be a proper game changer. But in this postseason, Tyrese Haliburton has fought back against every misconception about him, every preconceived opinion, and has truly redefined his legacy as an NBA player. Now we're going to have more conversations than ever about the role and the standing of Tyrese Haliburton in the NBA. Because the NBA playoffs, those are where stars are born. And Tyrese Haliburton looks like a star in every sense of the word right now. Even in the postseason, there have been times where Tyrese Haliburton has had moments of low scoring outputs that have perhaps put the Pacers in precarious positions. For instance, take a game against the Knicks where he had 8 points and 6 assists. A game in which you would want some more offensive output from him, but then he turns it around and he has moments like this. Moments which make the entire basketball world stand still for just a moment. Moments that make you question if these criticisms of Tyrese Haliburton are so valid, then how is he able to pull off such awe-inspiring shots as the ones he's made in these playoffs? When it comes to the biggest moments on the biggest stages, we have seen enough from Tyrese Haliburton to indicate that he rises to the occasion. The moment is not too significant for him. Instead, he becomes the moment. Iconic shot after iconic shot, and now the Pacers are leading in the NBA Finals against the by far championship favorites, Oklahoma City Thunder. Nobody ever expected them to get this far. Nobody expected Tyrese Haliburton to be performing this well, especially when you consider the archetype of player that he is. Because oftentimes when we're having these discussions of playoff risers and playoff droppers, there are certain archetypes that lean one way or the other. The guys with a major role, they're going to have more opportunities, but also that means more chances in which they might mess up. And when they do, every single play that they have is going to be put under a microscope. And when they fail, that moment is going to be magnified. Maybe they held themselves to such a high standard in the regular season that no matter what kind of production they have in the postseason, they just won't be able to live up to that. Look at James Harden. His playoff numbers over his career aren't too bad. They're actually pretty good. But when you compare it to what he did in the regular season, especially prime James Harden in Houston, it looks a little bit disappointing. And so any bad game, any inconsistent moment, any inefficient night is going to give someone a reputation as a playoff dropper relative to maybe what they did in the regular season or what the expectations were for them because they have been trusted with such a big role. But then on the other hand, you have the guys with a minimal role. And with that, if they have a big game in the postseason, all of their failures are overshadowed because they aren't expected to be this great player. And their great moments are magnified because it seems all the more impressive coming from them when you don't see it nightly. And with someone with the ball in his hands and as much trust in being the franchise cornerstone for the Pacers as Tyrese Haliburton is, it's not hard to look at him and imagine that he could have moments where he could be a playoff dropper. But instead, Tyrese Haliburton has put together an incredible run, and it really feels like he's about on top of the world right now. And that's not to say that he's the best player in the NBA, but he's ahead of an Indiana team that now has a 1-0 advantage in the NBA Finals. In that team that they beat, the Thunder, not only did they win 68 games in the regular season, not only have they looked dominant at times in the playoffs, they're nearly impossible to beat at home. In the Indiana Pacers, they go out on the road and they win in Oklahoma City. And it is thanks to Tyrese Haliburton. And if the Pacers finish the job, if they go on to win the NBA Finals, even if they don't, even if this is as good as it gets for them, there are going to be a lot of interesting conversations coming out about Tyrese Haliburton because he has forced himself into those conversations. You cannot exclude Tyrese Haliburton anymore. With every iconic shot that he's made this postseason, with every moment that he has risen to the occasion for, Tyrese Haliburton can no longer be overlooked. Through his both incredible shot making prowess as well as everything else he does for the Pacers on offense, being one of the best transition passers and playmakers that we've ever seen, I firmly have him as a top 15 player. And I don't know if I would have had him in that position if it wasn't for this postseason. But now he's forcing himself into those conversations. And you could even ask the question, is he a top 10 player in the world? Because going into next season, Jason Tatum is going to be out for a long period of time, so you can't really have him in those conversations at least for that year. And with that, then you get into borderline guys now like LeBron, KD, Anthony Edwards. Where does Tyrese Haliburton stand among those guys? He's not there with the likes of SGA necessarily, or Luka Doncic, Giannis Antetokounmpo, Nikola Jokic. But you get outside of that, and you start raising some questions, especially if the Pacers win the title. How high can Tyrese Haliburton go? What a run it's been for him. And it's one that no matter where the Pacers end up, whether they become NBA champions or not, this postseason stretch and the memories that have been created by the Indiana Pacers are going to live on forever in NBA history. And for Tyrese Haliburton, there has not been a bigger moment maker than him.